So the guides never tire of making up different versions of chakra meditations. They impress upon us all the time how the chakras are all important. And to a certain extent, my spiritual journey began with the chakras. My very first awakening experience came at the age of 28 when I was just about to leave South Africa for England, following a man that I'd fallen in love with. But the man that I'd fallen in love with was not really communicating much with me, and so I was having a nervous breakdown about whether I should truly follow him or not. And so I went to see a woman that was recommended by a friend who I didn't know was a medium. I didn't know if she was like a life coach or what the deal was, but there I landed in front of this amazing, amazing medium. Now, a medium is a psychic or a channel that works in a particular way. They usually bring the guidance and the meditation through somebody that you know that's passed on. That's the idea of being a medium, is being in between the spirit world and the physical earth world. And I no longer remember whether she actually did the session in that way, because I didn't record it. And where the information was coming from, all I remember was sitting opposite her, having this experience of looking at her and judging her, maybe thinking, oh, this elderly Irish lady, what is she going to do with me? She looked a bit esoteric, and I was a little bit cynical in myself. And what happened when she started channeling was that I went into a completely altered space, and she was talking about my chakras, which I'd never even heard of chakras, and about my aura. I knew nothing about the aura. I knew nothing about past lives. And what she was transmitting obviously came into me through my higher self, or through an aspect that was more awake than me, because from a personality self, there's no way that I could have understood what she was explaining to me. And in the process, she did speak about my future. She did answer the questions that, yes, I was meant to move to the UK. She didn't phrase it in that way. She said, I see you on a boat, and when you're on the other side, I see this romantic reunion, and I see champagne glasses clinking, and then I see a ring. So it looks like it's an engagement ring, but there's some confusion because there are two rings. So this is how mediums often work. They see pictures and they give the pictures, and then they give an explanation about what that might actually be about. And in this case, I gathered that she was saying, yes, the man was good for me, and that I would get engaged and or married. And that is what happened. And the two rings situation did come about because I got my first engagement ring, and I did reflexology at the time. And I took off my ring when doing reflexology out on the grass somewhere, and I lost my ring. So we had to buy a second engagement ring. But that was my first introduction to the chakras, and it really struck me. And one of the main messages that she gave me in that session was about meditation. She said, meditation is the key. And then she repeated it several times. Meditation is the key. Now, of course, I did not know at that stage that I was going to become a meditation teacher, that I was going to produce meditations that drew so many thousands of people to me. I had no idea. And I just gathered she meant I needed to meditate. So when I moved to London, I signed up for meditation classes, and I hated them. I fell asleep. I couldn't stop thinking. I couldn't concentrate. And so I decided to try meditating on my own. And I thought, okay, what seems to be the most important thing? And at that point, I didn't realize how much our higher self and guides bring things to us in the perfect moment. And as I was ruminating on that, you know, what kind of meditation should I try and do on my own? Because there's absolutely no way I can just sit silently and have anything meaningful happen. And I had been given a little book called the Five Tibetans because I was interested in that form of yoga. And I picked that up one day and boom, there it was. He said that chakra meditation was one of the most powerful ways to open your consciousness. And he gave a little description, and it involved simply resting your consciousness in the place of each chakra for 3 minutes. You did 3 minutes in the first, 3 minutes in the second, 3 minutes, blah, blah, up to here. So we get to 21 minutes. Then you did 3 minutes in the aura, and then you did 3 minutes with everything. And it turned out to be about half an hour. And I started doing this religiously. It was very difficult for me. I couldn't have any sense of how to place my consciousness inside my body unless it was with an actual organ or something. And so I really struggled to hold my focus in that place. But I would just think, root chakra, root chakra, root chakra. He didn't say to focus on the colors, but I would just think red, red, red. And I knew it was energy. So I just tried to focus without music or anything for 3 minutes in each chakra and then in the aura. And there was this magic day that I remember where I was sitting in my healing room, which was like a little beach hut, a wooden hut that my husband had made for me in the garden. And one of my children came busting in as I was in the middle of this process and asked me a question. Where's the something, Mum? And I was in the middle of my chakra meditation, and I opened my eyes and I said, in the second cupboard, it's just above the fridge. And they left, and I closed my eyes, and I was still with that chakra. And that was where I realized that I had taught myself to meditate. And I still didn't really understand the purpose of chakra meditation, but chakra meditation is in every way magical. Not when you focus on blocked chakras, which is something that my guides reprimand or correct a lot of people about when they're talking about, I have a throat chakra that is blocked, therefore I'm getting a lot of colds and my throat is often sore. And they say, don't ever consider your chakras to be blocked. They are never entirely blocked. If one chakra was blocked, you wouldn't exist. It just is not a happening thing. Your chakras are always there, even if they're not functioning optimally. And two, what they impress upon us is that if we are having symptoms that we can very easily relate to a particular chakra, then it is because that chakra is opening. It is drawing our awareness to that place because something needs healing in that place. So whenever you have this temptation to feel like one of your chakras is blocked, simply affirm to yourself, my such and such chakra is opening. It is in a healing process right now. So I'm going to show you some images to help you understand. In this first image that I was using during the meditation, you have the sense of glowing balls, a glowing red ball here, glowing orange ball, glowing yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And this depiction of the rainbow colors is much more profound than you possibly can imagine. It shows how the chakras are a system. They are a scientific system. Everything about the chakras can be scientifically proven. Finally, we have my favorite yogi, my favorite guru, Paraman Yogananda on the screen. Now, this dude was all important in terms of bringing the knowledge of the chakras, bringing the knowledge of the aura, and bringing the knowledge of how certain meditations and pranayama and awakening techniques actually awakened the consciousness through the awakening of the chakras. And he called this the science of religion. Now, this was at the turn of the century, and I will, in the next presentation, show you some pictures of Yogananda teaching to an audience of Victorian Americans in huge halls. And the reason that he did pique their interest and that he was actually allowed to do this is because he didn't call it the science of yoga. He didn't introduce it as yoga or as pranayama or as awakening. He called it the science of religion. So religion was spirituality in those days. You know, your connection with God and your own awakening was simply called religion. And so the fact that he called it religion, but the science of religion, was completely fascinating to them. And he showed them on stage how he had extra powers simply by mastering certain techniques of breath, etc. He showed how he could stop his heart, he could stop his breathing and start it again. And he taught in this book about the siddhis of the awakened yogis, of how these yogis that he had personally visited and come across and made friends with could levitate, how they could teleport and be in one place at the same time as another. And his guru, the original guru that transmitted down through his guru into him, was, of course, Babaji, the ascended master Babaji, the immortal master Babaji, I should say rather, because although he is in an ascended state, he still is in our third dimension, although most of the time he is in a higher dimensional state, which means that only those who are in the same state as him can actually see him. But we'll talk more about him later.